Yo, what is up, boys? It is your boy Xehther, back at it again with a brand new video. This being, what if Naruto was like Satoru Gojo, or what if Naruto was Gojo's reincarnation more specifically, because that is quite literally what Naruto is going to be. So, yeah, you guys love him, I love him, you guys wanted to see this man back, so I'm here to deliver on that poll that I posted, and yeah, that being said, if you haven't checked out my version of this for Deku, make sure to go check that out. It's, it's on the channel in case you want to watch that. But with that being said, I don't want to waste your guys' time too much, so we're just gonna go ahead and say it with me, boys. Get started. Okay, so where this story is actually all going to start off is the day that Naruto was born. Like usual, Obito is going to do his attack on the Leaf Village with the Nine Tails, and per usual, Naruto is actually going to have the Nine Tails fox sealed within him. In this version of events, however, Minato's hair is actually going to be white, and he's of course still going to have those blue eyes. Naruto would of course be born with white hair and those beautiful six eyes that Gojo has. You know, those eyes that really just want to make you switch over to the curvy side, if you get what I'm putting down. But that being said though, Naruto would be born, and of course the Nine Tails fox would of course be sealed within Naruto. See, just like in the original, Naruto would basically be laying there, but there would be one major change to the story. A different person would actually be taking Naruto this time. Hiruzen, let's say he's a little later than usual, and before Hiruzen could get to Naruto, Orochimaru would have actually been in the area and would have actually taken Naruto after realizing that Naruto is the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox, as well as the son of the Lord Fourth, or Minato Namikaze. You know, that man is broken, and Orochimaru knows that his son, yeah, he's not going to fall too far from the tree. So immediately after realizing the opportunity before him, he would immediately grab Naruto and take him away, as he would take him to one of his bases. And this is when Naruto would proceed to basically be raised by Orochimaru instead of by Hiruzen. Honestly, I feel like if the real original Naruto would have been raised by Orochimaru, he might have turned out a little better, because at least Orochimaru wouldn't have thrown him in the ghettos. You know, like Orochimaru is a pedo after all, but come on now, Lord Third, he threw him in the ghetto with ramen and spoiled milk. That man needs to be arrested. But yeah, all jokes aside though, Naruto would basically arrive at, Orochimaru's base, and for the next couple of years, Orochimaru would basically raise Naruto and train him. He would also basically drug him and use the drugs that he used with Sasuke to improve Naruto's development. After a couple of years, Orochimaru would have noticed that, Naruto was never actually able to be touched anytime that Orochimaru basically tried to go for Naruto after he turned about the age of 4. Yeah, let's say around the age of 4, Naruto was finally able to use Infinity. And after that age, Orochimaru was actually never able to touch Naruto ever again. Excuse me. But anyways, yeah, Orochimaru was never able to touch Naruto again. Orochimaru during these years would essentially try to manipulate Naruto, but of course, Naruto, being Gojo's reincarnation, would see right through all of his BS and never go through with any of the things that Orochimaru wanted to do. At the point that he was 6 years old, Naruto could have honestly taken down Orochimaru, but he wanted to learn how to control his chakra and all that stuff, so he basically just stayed there, seeing as Orochimaru may have been an awful and twisted person, but he was great for teaching Naruto the basics of chakra. So Naruto would basically stay with Orochimaru until the age of 12, where he would pretty much learn his chakra natures. He would master all 5 elements. He would even be able to master chakra transformations, as well as the multi-shadow clone jutsu, and a lot of forbidden jutsus that Orochimaru would actually teach him. Around the age of 12, Orochimaru was actually getting ready to take over Naruto's body, seeing as Naruto was basically oblivious to everything, or so Orochimaru thought, and Orochimaru was getting everything prepared. He would essentially have been putting everything in place for, Naruto to basically be taken by him as his vessel. And Naruto, during this time that he was basically with Orochimaru, would have actually been able to make a couple of friends along the way. Those friends being people like Suigetsu, Kinimaru, Karin, Jugo, all of those characters who were in Team Taka, Naruto was actually able to form a couple of bonds with them. And Naruto would actually hang out with them any chance that he gets. And whenever Naruto was there, Orochimaru would basically actually let them live a normal life, I guess, if what you could call what their life was normal in any sense of the word. But yeah, Naruto would basically, of course, see through all of Orochimaru's plots and plans. And at the age of 12, at this point, Naruto would basically be OP. He'd be a pretty much master of all 5 elements in terms of chakra natures. And he would also have, OP jutsus like the water dragon, the fire dragon, all the flame destruction, all that stuff. The phoenix flame jutsu. He would have all of those really cool looking jutsus. And he would actually know how to combine chakra natures to create other things as well. Naruto would have realized that after, kind of pointing that out to Orochimaru. And Orochimaru, after Naruto basically got chakra control down at the age of 9, would have actually ended up learning some from Naruto. And at this point, Naruto would basically just be sticking around, because if he ever destroys anything with his cursed energy, he doesn't want it to destroy someone good. He'd rather have it be Orochimaru. But by the age of 12, Naruto would have mastered its cursed energy, such as Limitless, Blue, Red, Purple, and all of his other attacks like Domain Expansion and other such stuff like that. That being said, this version of Naruto would be even more OP than the version of Gojo that's in Jujutsu Kaisen, due to the fact that this version of Naruto has chakra on top of everything that also fuels his body with, power. He'd be able to fuse cursed energy and his chakra nature, as well as the power of the 9 tails, to essentially use whatever he wants. This version of Naruto would have actually placed the 9 tails in his domain expansion years ago, and he would actually have a full mastery over KCM. So yeah, just saying, this version of Naruto is extremely broken, to put it lightly. And yeah, I don't ever underscale these characters to make other characters have a fair battle. Since, come on now, it's not what if Naruto had Gojo's powers and everyone else got buffed because of that. That's not what the series is called. But yeah, that being said though, he would basically be really OP. And to put it lightly, Naruto would annoy Orochimaru extremely, because Naruto would actually have the personality of Goofy Gojo. That would literally be him. He'd have Gojo's exact personality. And Naruto, by the age of 12, right when Orochimaru was deciding to, switch his bodies with him, Naruto would just place Orochimaru under his domain expansion, basically rendering Orochimaru to be a vegetable, literally mind destroyed and unable to move his body. Orochimaru would be having absolutely no say in how things would go. And yeah, Naruto after that would basically proceed to go through all of Orochimaru's bases and destroy them all, freeing every single person that was trapped in the process, and making a sort of squad with all the people who I had mentioned previously. Suigetsu, Kimimaru, Jugu, and Jugu, not Jugu, but Jugo and Karin, and of course, himself. He would go through with his his 4 buddies, and he would basically decide to free them all. He would decide that after freeing everybody, he decide that he's gonna put his life towards one cause. He's essentially going to try to bring around world peace. After seeing all of the sick and twisted things that Orochimaru had done to live forever, Naruto would have decided that there's no point to living forever if the world is not a good place. So instead of trying to live forever in the way that Orochimaru did, Orochimaru's point of view would have definitely rubbed off on Naruto, and that would have led him to essentially think of making the world go into world peace. That way he would never have to deal with any of the world's misfortunes. So yeah, but the first order of business would actually be to heal Kimimaru, seeing as he has like a couple of months left to live. He doesn't have that much time. So that's essentially what they would all be on. Their mission for now would essentially be to find Kimimaru. All of them would be around the ages of 12, 14, and 16, seeing as those are like the ages that they're at. Kimimaru would be 15 years old, Suigetsu would be 12, Jugo would be 14, and Karin would be 12 as well. And can you guess who the ship is going to be for Naruto? Yeah, it's not Karin. I wanted to do y'all dirty for a second. But nah, anyways, basically this team would essentially get all of their stuff together, and they would get all of their, essential trips all, essentially together. I don't know how else to put it. And they would all essentially just go around trying to locate the legendary Sannin Tsunade, as Naruto would have heard Orochimaru talk about her abilities to heal people, and talking about how she may have been the only person alive who could heal Kimimaru's death-threatening sickness. So yeah, that's their first order of business, to find Tsunade. Along the way, of course, Naruto and his team would run around a couple of people, and it is actually around this time where they would actually be walking around the land of the waves, as at this point Kakashi would have actually been wandering by with his team, who's actually not consisting of Naruto this time. Instead, Team 7 would actually consist of Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Sai, I don't know his last name, but yeah, and Sai, as they're basically walking around, and Naruto would catch a quick glimpse of Hatake Kakashi, as he would look towards his direction and wonder, what some hidden Leaf Village shinobi are doing here. As out of nowhere, a giant sword would come crashing right at them and would almost hit Kakashi actually, as Naruto would immediately step into action, basically just blitzing towards the location where the sword came out of and punching Zabuza straight cold. He would punch Zabuza out cold. As after that, his whole team would basically just run off, as Kakashi was just stunned by what had happened, and Team 7 would go through that Land of the Waves mission no problem. Zabuza would come by like later on, but seeing as they have Sai instead of Naruto, who I definitely believe Sai would have actually clapped one-tailed Naruto at this point, seeing as Sai was in the Anbu and he was more powerful than, he was the strongest Genin at the time. So yeah, even stronger than Neji Hyuga. So yeah, I definitely think Sai would have made a massive difference. With Sasuke, they both could have definitely taken down what's his name, Thirst Trap. What's that man's name? Thirst Trap. We all thought it was a girl. You guys know the girl boy thing. Haku! Yes, Haku. How could I forget Haku's name? Come on, thirst trapping me when I'm like 12 and now I just forget the name? Come on, I can't do that. But anyways, that being said, they would basically go around trying to find old lady Tsunade, and they would basically go from, from city to city, and they'd basically just be looking around, or no, not cities, but town to town, as they'd be going from the land of waves to the land of lightning and stuff like that, basically trying to find Tsunade. This is when they basically find her, and Tsunade would actually be at a pub drinking, just going like crazy as you would expect per usual, because that's just the type of person Tsunade is. So yeah, they would find Tsunade like a couple of months later after their searches, and they would finally be able to come across Tsunade, as essentially Naruto's team would decide that they're going to, basically grab Tsunade and have her heal Kimimaru, whether she wants to or not. So they would walk into the bar, and they would have actually heard rumors that she was around this area. So they would walk into the bar, and they would basically be on the lookout for the Tsunade. Orochimaru had described her as a young-looking lady with giant breasts, and that's basically the description that Naruto had. So yeah, that's why I said it. All right, chill, don't flame me in the comments. But anyways, that being said, Naruto would see a young looking lady with giant tits, and Naruto would look towards that direction, as he just immediately realizes that has to be her. She'd be sitting in a bar with like some blonde looking ish hair, and another lady with black hair who's basically just saying, "Lady Tsunade, come on, you need to count those drinks, you need to calm down," as Naruto would basically walk towards that direction and sit down in the booth that Tsunade was in. As Tsunade would basically be drunk and be like, "Can I help you?" As Naruto would of course basically look towards Kimimaru's direction, and Kimimaru would sit down right next to Naruto, as he would look towards her and tell her that he needs her help. He has a friend who's been dying with an ill sickness, and he needs her help to fix him. It doesn't matter what he has to do, but he'll basically do anything for her help. As Tsunade, being drunk, would be like, "Yeah, you think I'm gonna help your little friend there?" As Naruto would be like, "Please, lady." As he'd basically, stand up and just basically kneel right in front of her, as he begs her to help heal Kimimaru. as Tsunade would basically just be all drunk, and she'd proceed to basically tell Naruto that if she can land one hit, or no, she would tell Naruto that if he can beat her in an arm wrestle, she'll help him. As Naruto would immediately smile, thinking that this is going to be way easier than he thought. He's so lucky he saw her when she was drunk. So Naruto would pretty much proceed to essentially look towards Tsunade's direction and say, "That's it?" As she would say, "Yeah, that's the price. That's the price. If you can beat me in an arm wrestle, I promise to heal your friend here." As Naruto would basically, of course, proceed to look towards Tsunade's direction, as he would say, "Alright then," as you know, we would basically have Naruto looking at Tsunade, as he'd proceed to essentially look right at her and just ask her if she's sure about this, and she would say of course she is, as Naruto would basically proceed to essentially just sit down in the booth, and Suigetsu, Jugo would basically put their hands on top, as they would say, "We want a clean match." And Naruto would just basically be having a blank expression on his face, just kind of having like a dumb like Saitama expression in his face, as Tsunade would say, "What are you looking at?" As she would hiccup and just be all drunk, you know. Naruto would immediately, as soon as he makes contact with her hand, he would put a layer of infinity between them both, and as soon as the match starts, Tsunade would use all of her strength to push down on Naruto's arm, as Naruto would proceed to basically use I forget what it was. Is red the one that pushes, or blue the one that pushes? I forget. Honestly, I need to look this up real quick. Give me a second, boys. Let's see. What is Gojo's abilities? The fact that I forgot this is just tragic. Like, how am I gonna do a what if with Gojo's abilities and just not know this man's little freaking powers? Like, ugh. Yeah, you guys are probably like roasting me down below in the comments, just like, this man doesn't even know his stuff. Get out of here, you know. Just like, hey, it's been a minute. It's been a minute, okay? Don't judge me. All right, so blue is the one that basically pulled. Blue is pull. Red is push. Okay, red is push. Okay, that makes sense. As Naruto would basically use red and push her hand straight down onto the table, as immediately Tsunade's arm would have been blown straight onto the table. And after this, Naruto would basically say to meet them at a certain location the very next day for his buddy's healing. As Tsunade would get angry, and as Naruto was basically going to go to get up, Tsunade would essentially stand up and break the table. She would immediately throw a punch straight at Naruto, seeing as she was angry she lost. Naruto would basically just dodge out of the way, and Suigetsu's face would be right about to make contact with her, as he would turn into water, and Naruto would basically look towards his direction, and he's like, "That was close. You might have actually gotten hurt pretty badly." As Suigetsu just looked at him, and he's like, "You think?" After this, Naruto would basically just grab Tsunade by her shirt and just like basically yank her, as he throws her on top of his shoulders, and he'd basically look at his whole squad as he's like, "Come on, we gotta go." As they'd all basically be like, "Sure thing," as they'd all get their stuff and just walk off out of there. As they take Tsunade to their hotel, and Naruto would then turn around as he asks, you know, lady, what's her assistant's name? She'd basically ask her if she wants to come. She'd basically say, "Hey, put Lady Tsunade down," as Naruto would of course not listen to her, and he'd basically proceed to basically just take her with him. She would take him to her hotel, and he'd basically proceed to drug her with something to knock her out immediately. As Tsunade would wake up the very next day, Naruto would basically be standing right on top of her. She's like, "Where am I?" As Naruto would just be standing over her like, "Yo, hey, you lost your bet yesterday. Can you heal my friend now?" Tsunade would be like, "Heal? What are you talking about?" This is when lady, you know, what's her name? Little assistant lady, pig lady or whatever, would proceed to look towards Tsunade as she said, "Yeah, kind of lost the bet. You bet this kid that if you lost in an arm wrestle, you would heal his friend." And she'd say, what? I lost in an arm wrestle?" As Naruto would basically look at her and just say, "Yeah, you did." As she would say to this little runt, as Naruto would look at her wearing his Gojo outfit with like the blindfold on, and he'd basically say, yeah, pretty much. As she would proceed to look towards Naruto and say, I want a rematch. If you can beat me while I'm not drunk, I'll heal your little friend. As Naruto would say, sure thing, but can we go outside? I don't really want to wreck this hotel place as I just paid for it. As Tsunade would basically look towards him and be like, you do whatever I want, where I want. Now get ready. As Suigetsu would come in and just be like, just get this over with. As Kinemaro would start coughing out some blood, and as soon as Naruto sees that, he would immediately decide that he's not playing any games. He would push all the chakra in his body to his one arm, and he would then begin to like flow cursed energy right through his arm as well, using all of the strength that he has, as Tsunade would activate her 100 healings jutsu. She would try to slam Naruto's hand straight through the building, but before she could do anything, Naruto would literally just destroy her before she even had the chance to blink. As afterwards, he would look at her and smile as he would say, so can you heal my friend now? He's kind of dying right now. Tsunade would look at Naruto and say, fine. This is when she would basically go up to Kinemaro as she begins to, use her healing jutsu, her medical ninjutsu, to heal him for the next couple of hours. As after that had basically been taken into effect, Tsunade would finish with healing Kinemaro as he would stand up and Kinemaro would be in perfect health, perfect condition. There was absolutely nothing wrong with him. Also, if you've made it this far into the video, make sure to go down below and leave a like. Come on now, do your boy a favor, as I think I'm actually going to make this a movie and just record the entirety of the what if in one part. So yeah, come on now, do your boy a favor, hit that like button. Anyways, with that being said though, Naruto would basically look at her and he'd thank her for her help, as he would ask her if she's willing to join him on his little crusade, as she would say she's not gonna go anywhere with him, and Naruto would say, alright, well guys, we gotta go, as he'd basically get everybody, and Kinemaro would thank Naruto for his help, as for the first time ever, Kinemaro would smile, and after seeing that, Naruto would smile as well, as he'd basically look towards Tsunade and he would throw a huge little bar of gold in her direction, as she would catch it and she would say thank you, as Naruto basically says, yeah, make sure to pay off those little tabs with that. As after this, Naruto would basically be walking out of there, as he'd actually be looking at his team, as he would tell them that they're all actually going to go to the Hidden Leaf Village, since they're already close, so they might as well go over there and get their resources. As he actually, before he goes on his little trip, he wants to find out who he is and where he was born. Orochimaru never told him who he was, where he was born, and he's tried looking for that in the other places, but he hasn't ever searched in the village hidden in the leaves. So yeah, Naruto would basically look at his buddies and say, and we're off, as they'd all basically just start sprinting, and they'd all basically just be running into the sunset. Honestly, that was cringe, but you know what I mean. As they'd all basically arrive at the Hidden Leaf Village in about 2 hours, and everybody would be exhausted, as Naruto would basically look at them and say, we should have brought that medical ninjutsu specialist. She could have helped a lot, as Naruto would basically look towards Kinemaro and say, I beat you, as Kinemaro would look at him and say, yeah, whatever. As Suigetsu would walk up to Naruto and say, so, what are we doing here, Naruto? As Naruto would look towards him and he'd basically just say, oh, I'm just here to do a little bit of research. As, they would all look at him, and Jugo would walk up as he says, are you trying to find out about your past again? And Naruto would look at him as he would say, precisely. As they'd all basically walk inside through the guards, and the guards would actually try to stop them, but before they could do a thing, Naruto would blitz at them, just knock them out with a karate chop to the neck. As they'd continue walking inside the village, and this is when they would wander to the Lord Hokage's, his house thingy-majigger, his tower. As they'd basically be standing outside of the Lord Third's mansion, they would proceed to basically knock on the door, as they'd be greeted to the receptionist of the Lord Third's, and Naruto would basically walk up there as he would ask if he can speak to Lord Third, as the Third Hokage would basically be told about having someone down there, and he'd basically say that to tell them to just make an appointment with him if they want to talk, as the lady would basically say that, yeah, you actually need an appointment if you want to talk to Lord Third. I can set one up for you if you'd like, as Naruto would basically look at her and say, that won't be necessary, as he'd basically just tell everybody to hold onto his back, and they'd all literally just teleport inside of Hiruzen's office. As in case you're wondering why they didn't just do that to get to the Hidden Leaf Village, Naruto wanted to race them. That's as simple as it gets, honestly. But yeah, Naruto would basically proceed to walk inside as he would say, "Hey, Lord Third." As he'd say, "Jesus, you're old." As Hiruzen would basically look at him and say, "Hello. Who are you?" As the third Hokage's Anbu guards would basically be on guard, and one of them would actually rush at Naruto's direction, as Kinimaru would actually decide, absolutely not, you're not about to hit my Naruto-kun. As he'd basically just shoot bones at those Anbu ninjas, and he would just knock them out instantly. After this, Hiruzen would just be hitting his little pipe, as he'd basically ask what he's doing here. Naruto at this point would proceed to basically just take off his hood, as he was wearing like a sort of hoodie, and as soon as Hiruzen sees Naruto's hair color, he would say, "It can't be." As he would see those eyes, as soon as Naruto took that off, he would then take off his blindfold and ask Hiruzen if he knows anything about his past. As immediately Hiruzen would drop his pipe down to the ground, and he would then proceed to basically stand up, as he would run over to Naruto and say, "Naruto." And this is when Naruto would basically say, "Naruto?" As he would basically look towards him, and oh wait, I forgot to clear this up earlier. I am so dumb for not saying this, but in this version, Naruto was actually given the name of Gojo by Suigetsu, as that's basically what he used to call him. And Naruto was never really given a name by Orochimaru, so he just kind of stuck with Gojo. Orochimaru basically called him Satoru, or Satoru Gojo. So yeah, that's basically what Naruto's name is. It's Gojo. So yeah, he'd basically ask who Naruto is, and this is when Lord Third would basically begin to explain everything to him. He would explain about the Night of the Nine Tails, and he would ask Naruto if he has the Nine Tails Jinchuriki within him. As Naruto would of course proceed to show him his belly, and he would be ripped. He would have a literal 8-pack, and he would proceed to basically pick his shirt up, as Hiruzen would look at that and just be like, "Yep, that's Minato Sano, right?" As he would proceed to basically just ask him if he's gonna stay here for a while. Naruto would proceed to say he's not. He has some missions to do, and he's not even part of this village anymore. So he'd basically look towards Lord Third and ask, "So, who are my parents?" As Hiruzen would look at Naruto and just walk over to the window, as he would look towards the Hokage monuments, as he would say, "You see that one right there? The fourth statue?" Naruto would look up there, as he would see a Hokage. He would say, "Yeah, what about it?" Instantly, it would all click in his mind. He would say, "I'm the son of the fourth Hokage, Minato?" And this is when it would all just click in Naruto's mind. Hiruzen would begin to explain everything, and as this is happening, Naruto would basically just understand everything, as he'd be like, understandable. So it seems I am the son of Lord Fourth, and I was kidnapped by Orochimaru. I mean, the kidnapping I knew. It's not like this white freak pedo was my actual father, but wow, I can't believe it. I'm the son of a Hokage. That's awesome. No wonder I'm so strong." As he'd basically ask Hiruzen where his powers come from. As Hiruzen would ask what does he mean by powers, and Naruto would show him his red, blue, and purple curse techniques. As he would then begin to try to touch Naruto, but before he can even put a hand on him, Naruto would activate Limitless, and Lord Third would just go like right past him. He wouldn't be able to touch anything. Naruto would basically proceed to say, "Thanks, old man. You finally cleared everything up for me." As he would look towards Hiruzen, and he'd basically thank him, as he would basically walk out the door. And Hiruzen would basically just look towards Naruto, as he would say, "Wait, Naruto, I need to..." As after he looks outside, Naruto's gone. Naruto would have basically blitzed out and teleported to the outskirts of the Hidden Leaf Village, as while he was walking away, a man with white hair would basically be passing by, as this would be none other than Jiraiya Sensei, or Jiraiya, just, the legendary Sannin. As soon as Naruto sees that spiky hair, Naruto would stop and say, "Hey, you there, are you one of the legendary Sannins?" And, Jiraiya would say, "Who's asking?" As he'd be like, "Ha! I am the legendary Toad Sage," doing his usual shtick. As Naruto would say, "Yeah, could tell. Orochimaru told me all about you." As, Jiraiya would immediately get, kind of worried about this kid. He would then say, Orochimaru, what kind of ties do you have with him? As Naruto would just say, oh, nothing. I'm just the guy who took him out. As immediately, literally, this man Jiraiya would look towards Naruto. He would say, wait, you took him out that fast? Naruto would look towards his direction as he would say, yeah, that was pretty easy. He was kind of weak. As after this, Jiraiya would basically look towards Naruto as he would just be thinking that this kid must be incredibly powerful. As he would look towards him and say, hey, how about a little sparring match? As Naruto would look towards him and say he doesn't know if he's even ready for that. As Naruto would look towards his squad and he'd basically tell them all to fight him. Each and every single one of them to fight Jiraiya, like a 4-on-1, to see if Jiraiya even would stand a chance against Naruto. As it'd be Kinemaro, Suigetsu, Karin, and Jugo who basically just rushed towards Jiraiya. And Jiraiya would basically immediately, as he sees Suigetsu, would immediately say, Fireball Jutsu. And he would blast it straight at Suigetsu. As Suigetsu would basically turn into water and go to the ground. As immediately, Jugo would activate his curse mark and he would blitz towards Jiraiya as he would say, the curse mark, huh? He would then basically jump over him as Karin would come in and she would try to stab him with a kunai. As immediately, our boy Kinemaro would activate his own version of the curse mark and he would immediately go into his curse mark 2 state. As fast as the battle started, he would shoot out his rib cage at Jiraiya and he would immediately proceed to tangle him up with it. As Jiraiya would basically poof into smoke, he would then appear behind Kinemaro as he would say Rasengan and he would smash it straight at Jiraiya at Kinemaro's head. Who right after that would proceed to basically run over to Karin and kick her with an elbow to the head, knocking her out. As Suigetsu would immediately just be like, yep, I'm done. And he would turn into a little puddle of water and just be on the ground. As Naruto would proceed to essentially look towards, the people on the ground and the puddle. And he would then proceed to say, well, I guess you can take them down. As Jiraiya would then say, so, are you ready? And Naruto would look at him as he would say, sure. As Jiraiya would say, Rasengan! And he would create a massive one as he would rush towards Naruto. And you could just hear the footsteps you can hear the footsteps you can hear the little footsteps coming. The sound effects of Naruto running. And Naruto would just stand still as he would have a huge grin on his face. Jiraiya would come in and shove the Rasengan right at him. And as Jiraiya basically dissipated it and had it go away, he'd be chuckling, thinking that there's no way this kid defeated Orochimaru. He must have just been bluffing. As Naruto would be standing there without a single scratch on his body. Naruto would then look at Jiraiya and say, wow, that attack was pretty impressive. And he would look towards him as he would say, is it done like this? As he would immediately create a Rasengan in his hand. And just as fast as he did, and Jiraiya was just shocked by Naruto's, giftedness, he'd basically look right at Naruto's Rasengan as Naruto would just shove that thing right in his gut, knocking Jiraiya out. And he'd basically tell Jugo to throw him on his back and just take them with him, seeing as he needs to learn a couple more jutsus from this old man. Seeing as if Orochimaru was able to teach him some cool jutsus, imagine what this guy can. As of course, Naruto would practically kidnap this man Jiraiya, and he'd basically take this man by force, unconsciousness. So yeah, they basically walk off, and this would actually lead them to another land. They would begin to basically just walk around, as it's actually at this point where the Akatsuki members are actually walking around, and they would actually run into 2 Akatsuki members at that. These 2 members would actually be by the name of Itachi Uchiha and Kisame, I don't know his last name. But yeah, you get the picture. As soon as they basically see them, this is around the point where Jiraiya would begin to wake up. And as soon as he lays his eyes on those robes, Jiraiya would basically jump off of Jugo's back as he would say, those are the Akatsuki members. You, back me up. As he would look towards Naruto, Naruto would say, alright. As he'd basically run at Itachi, and they'd basically proceed to get into a battle where Suigetsu would basically shoot a bunch of water bullets at them, with Naruto shooting his wind style abilities at them, and he would then basically proceed to say blue, as he'd essentially pull Kisame right at him, as Jiraiya would basically hold him, and he'd basically use a ceiling tag to basically place it on Kisame, as the tag would read an explosive mark and it would explode right on Kisame, as Naruto would then jump in the air doing an awesome backflip as he's just smiling the whole time, and he would then proceed to basically say purple, as he would obliterate Kisame in an instant. Kisame would just turn into nothingness, and this is when he would look towards Itachi's direction, as he would create a Rasengan and shove it right into Itachi's gut. Ugh. Excuse me, boys, I did not mean to do that, but it happened. So yeah, that being said, Naruto would look towards the direction of everyone else, as he would then begin to look at them and ask them, who those guys were. As immediately Jiraiya would explain the Akatsuki, and Naruto would then begin to say, "I was kidding." As Jiraiya would basically look at him with like a dumb expression and kind of like a little sweat drop on his face. As Naruto would say, "Yeah, know all about him. Orochimaru explained everything to me." And he'd basically say that, "Well, I guess that's the next thing we're going to do. We need to take down the whole entirety of the Akatsuki." As he'd look towards his squad and he'd say, "You guys with me?" As they'd all basically look at him and they'd all have mixed reactions. Kinimaru would basically nod his head. Suigetsu would give him a cheesy smile while he's actually wielding Zabuza's blade, since they actually took that a couple months after, that little thing, I think. Did I even say that they did? Well, anyways, Suigetsu took it. It kind of belongs to Suigetsu, and I'm just going to give it to him just cuz. If he didn't take it, just plot, just retcon whatever I said before and basically say that Suigetsu took the sword and left. Yeah. After Naruto, blocked the sword, he grabbed the sword and left. Yeah. That happened. And in case you want to go back and check if it happened, don't bother. It definitely did. You don't even have to check. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I created the what if. Yeah. Anyways, that being said, though, they'd basically look at each other as Karin would be the only one who's a little worried. Naruto would then look at his team and he'd basically say that, but before that, they're gonna need some training. As he would look towards Jiraiya's direction and he would say, "Hey, don't get me involved," as Naruto would look at him and basically ask him if he's willing to go on a 3-year training journey with them. As Jiraiya as soon as Naruto was asked him that, he would say, "Sure I am." As they'd all basically look at Naruto and they'd say, "Perfect, Gojo, let's go." As they'd basically all just dip out of there, and this would begin the 3-year training mark. Each and every single one of them would actually learn Toad Sage Mode during the 3 years they had to train. They would have all mastered each and every single one of their chakra transformations, and they would all be able to wield the Rasengan. Naruto would have actually gotten a couple more broken jutsus than everyone else, and in terms of Sasuke and the Hidden Leaf Village, they're all doing just fine. Sasuke would have grown up just like normal, never actually having to give in to the hatred, and there was never an attack by the Sand Village. Of course, Gaara went crazy a little bit after Sasuke stabbed the Chidori into him, because that still happened, but there was never an attack on the Hidden Leaf Village because Orochimaru never orchestrated all of that. So yeah, that being said, that basically is what happens during these little couple of years they have to train. Everybody gets OP, and Kinimaru is the one that actually gets the most results out of all of them. He would get broken, and when I say broken, I mean broken. Like, this man is just too OP. Too OP for his own good. It's not funny how OP this man is. But yeah, y'all get the picture. That being said, though, this would basically lead Naruto and his team to basically decide that, well, it seems to them that they're all ready, as they'd basically proceed to use Naruto's ability to teleport to pretty much just go around each and every single place where they have seen Akatsuki sightings, and they would just obliterate everyone. They'd obliterate Kisame. Oh wait, they already did that. They'd obliterate everyone. Okay, Itachi would have actually just basically been obliterated as well on the last time, and yeah, they'd kill each and every single one of the Akatsuki members. As easy as that. It's just simple as that. They would destroy the entirety of the Akatsuki, and that would be an instant GG for the boys. After this, Naruto would decide that he's actually going to found his own village. The village hidden in the... Oh my god. Ugh. He'd found his own village, calling it the Hidden Village in the Cloud, as it would actually be very near to the Hidden Cloud Village. As after word spreads around, the Raikage would get extremely angry by this, seeing as he thinks it's some sort of joke or mimicking his village. So he would immediately try to basically contact the leader, and when he realizes it's some 16-year-old boy, he just absolutely loses his stuff and just tries to kill Naruto. But when he tries to hit him with a lariat, yeah, it wouldn't land at all, and Naruto would just say blue, as he'd basically pull the Raikage in his. He would hold him by the neck, and he'd basically whisper in his ear. He'd say, "You ever heard of the choke slam?" As he'd grab him, pick him up by the shorts, and just bam, slam him into the desk that they were meeting at. As yeah, third Raikage or the fourth Raikage would he would have learned his lesson, to say the least. And also on the side of the Hidden Leaf Village, Tsunade would have been taken by someone else before other stuff. Tsunade would have no, let's say Kakashi would have actually been appointed as the fifth Hokage. Yes, fifth Hokage Kakashi. Just because, why not? Our boy Kakashi deserves a little bit of love, seeing as he's the other white-haired OP character we all know and love. But yeah, after Naruto established his village, he basically called for a meeting with all the 5 great nations and their Hokages, as it would all basically be present. And it's in this meeting where Naruto would bring his 4 guards with him: Kinimaru, Suigetsu, Karin, and Jugo. Each and every single one of them would basically be present there. Suigetsu on the way would have just been like, "Hey Naruto, so what's the plan?" As Naruto would basically turn around and say, "I haven't really thought about that. I'm thinking whether I just threaten them all to be, to go into world peace, or something else. I still haven't really thought about anything quite yet." As they'd all basically say, "Well, whatever it is, we're right behind you every step of the way, Naruto." Yeah, I'm just gonna call him Naruto, seeing as that I want to say Gojo. That just sounds weird. But yeah, Naruto. As yeah, Naruto would basically just go to the 6 great nation things, and he'd basically proceed to tell them all that he wants to start world peace. He wants a treaty with all the villages, where all the villages have to get along and share their resources. As soon as the 4th Raikage hears that, he would smash his fist onto the table and say, "Now why should we ever listen to you, brat?" He's like, "We don't have to listen to a thing you say." And Naruto would proceed to put them all under the domain expansion and turn them all into vegetables. Yeah, he turned them all into vegetables. Except for, no, actually no, that's a little too mean. I don't want to turn them into vegetables. He'd proceed to basically just get them all to be afraid of him. As that was my dog. Sorry about that. But yeah. Anyways, he turned them all into vegetables, and they'd all basically proceed to essentially just give in to Naruto's request. After this, Naruto and his team would go through the land, just basically trying to create his own version of world peace, where everyone basically gets along. And around the world, Naruto's basically just known as that one goofy kid who started world peace. He was born with those blue eyes, and Jiraiya, after a couple of years of this, Naruto at this point would be 22, would have finally achieved his goal of world peace. Jiraiya would have heard about this, and he would have thought that maybe that kid truly was the kid of prophecy. But this is where the series of What If Naruto was like Gojo will basically be ending. I hope you guys enjoyed this version of What If Naruto was like Gojo. I was going to go with a different approach for the series, but I decided to go through this version, seeing as I've actually been wanting to go through a version where Naruto basically becomes friends with Suigetsu, Kinimaru, and all of them, because I really like those characters actually. So I decided that, you know what, I'm going to go with this version, and I hope you guys enjoyed it nonetheless, even though it doesn't really follow the story of Naruto all too much. It basically has the characters, but it's more like a fanfic than a real what if. But yeah, boys, that being said, though, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, it has been your boy Xehther, and I am out. Peace.